He's a true pioneer with a history full of technical innovations and record-breaking runs down the quarter mile. And he's still racing after 30 years behind the wheel.
The man's the best to ever lived.
He's a milestone man, you know.
When he leads, everybody follows. He does it one week and everybody else copies him the next week. That's why he's #1.
Drag racing's undisputed nitro-burning guru is none other than Florida's favorite swamp rat, Big Daddy Don Garlits. What Elvis was to rock and roll, Big Daddy is to drag racing. Over 3 generations of loyal Top Fuel fans have followed the king as he blasted his way across America's drag strips in his famous swamp rat slingshot. Big Daddy's career began when he was still a teenager.
I didn't know anything about cars, but I had saved up enough money to buy a car, and it happened to be an old Ford, was what we picked out. We raced on the street, and there weren't any drag strips at all then. It wasn't until 1950, June, that we actually had an official drag strip here in Florida.
In the early 60s, as Top Fuel racing gained momentum, Big Daddy canvassed the country, appearing at countless match races against small-town hopefuls. Match races were, and still are today, the drag racers' bread and butter, where drivers get paid to show up for an event, whether or not they race. Without match races, few drivers could afford the massive expense of maintaining their fuel-thirsty, parts-hungry monster machines, including Big Daddy.
The big, long hot dog out of Florida, the king himself, Big Daddy Don Garlits. And here he is, Big Daddy Don Garlits.
Throughout his career, Garlits has constantly explored the outer limits of speed. Like any innovator, he's had his failures, but his successes have set the standards for years to come.
In the beginning, you know, I used to stretch the wheelbases out. I was the first guy that did that. I had bike tires, wheels on the front of them. I had port injection in 1959, and wings in 63 on airfoils over the cars in 63, and now there's some other things going on now that I'm doing, some aerodynamic work.
Without a doubt, Big Daddy's greatest contribution to drag racing came soon after a tragic accident in his front-engine swamp rat. Garlits lost part of his right foot in the mishap, but astonished the drag racing establishment a year later when he raced the first successful rear-engine car.
All I tried to do was move the driver from the dangerous position in back of the slingshot and put a seat in the front of the slingshot for him and stretch the car out a little bit to give him some stability. It's a real fast action sport. The mechanical skill plays an important role in it, which I've always really liked the mechanical end of it more than the driving.
Big Daddy's mechanical expertise has contributed largely to his record-breaking career. During a good year, Garlits will not only win half a dozen national events, he'll also break a few records in the process. He was the first drag racer to break the 250-mile-per-hour barrier, and many consider him the likeliest candidate to break 270. When it comes to piloting these 250-mile-per-hour, 2,800-horsepower missiles, few people attack the chore with such intensity as Big Daddy. What's his strategy?
I concentrate on the lights. I stage the car. I go down to my yellow light that I'm going to leave on, and the world might be coming to an end for all I know, because I don't hear anything, I don't see anything but that light. I feel my machine running. I feel the engine through the chassis, and about the only thing that can break that concentration is something's happening to the engine. During that period of time, everything slows down tremendously. The run takes a long time for the 5.5 seconds to go by. To watch it, I watch the other drivers go down the track, and I sometimes wonder how they're able to turn the fuel shut-off valves and enriching, and they do all this stuff, shift, and all this, and it's just blink, blink, blink. You can look at your watch, it's nothing. Believe me, it's much longer than that in the car when you're actually doing it. Your mind can do funny things with time.
Big Daddy's lifelong partner is his wife, Patricia. High school sweethearts, they've stuck it out through thick and thin, traveling the grueling racing circuit, running the country's only drag racing museum, and taking care of the daily business of a full-time racing career. According to Patricia, working together has its advantages.
The greatest thing about our relationship is our togetherness. I don't know many married people that are together as much as we are, and the marriage survives and works well, but ours does.
And what's it like being married to Big Daddy?
I just say it never gets dull. It's always exciting.
Exciting is also the word that best describes this high-decibel, ear-shattering sport, especially when Big Daddy races his old friend and rival, Shirley Muldowney, who's making a comeback after a recent injury. It's the kind of action that attracts capacity crowds who love the rivalry between these two pros. To call Big Daddy modest and unpretentious is an understatement. While most racers travel the top fuel circuit in million-dollar rigs, Big Daddy has maintained a low-key image. He's built his reputation on blood, sweat, and tears, and he credits his lifelong participation in drag racing to one thing.
The fans is what have kept me in drag racing. I had actually retired from drag racing for all practical purposes, and the fans are what have brought me back. Their loyalty and their cards and letters and phone calls and standing up there in the stands, screaming and hollering, clapping. If they were gone, I probably would be retired by now.